Well, here we are. Winter pansies are all out, complete with bees. Go away. Forsyth is making an effort. The rosemary's been out for a while. The photina's doing its thing. Flotina is out and about. And here we are in the summer house. Studio 1. Still not de-spidered, but not too bad. Right, normal bit of housework. If you've switched on just to see the film, jump forward 20 minutes, it'll be there waiting for you. Or you can always stay with us while we discuss previous films, two of, and you might even learn something. You will be entertained, you might even learn something. Stick with us, let's see what the family have been up to. Before we get into the first film for consideration, in Matters Arising, which is Lydney Harbour, Derek, you may remember a while ago we did Cornwall railway station, and Derek has sent us through some information on that, which I think is well worth a read. And he says the original Cornwall tunnel had to be replaced sometime before World War II. You might remember Cornwall stuck between two tunnels, one north, one south. So the original tunnel was then used by the Admiralty for munitions storage during the war. Yes, there's some debate there about torpedoes being a long way from the water. But, there you are. The rail access from that, Derek says, comes from the GWR station at Malvern Wells. So that's an internal narrow gauge was laid on the old tunnel to allow stores to be moved in and out. So the old tunnel had a good bit of use. And Derek goes on to tell us his mother's father was station master at Malvern Wells during World War II. Oh, he saw some sights. The US Army set up a number of hospital camps nearby, and the station became the home base for a hospital train. Well, there you are. Thanks, Derek. Thanks for chipping in and giving us that additional information. Brilliant. Right. And move on to James Weeks, our resident school teacher. Good old James. He says, I'm a tardy adventure subscriber this week. Aren't you always? Report time. Oh, poor James is still writing reports. And freezing cold weather. You may be interested, he says. Yesterday it was -3 degrees Celsius with the blizzard conditions, changing to freezing rain and then rain, and today it's up to 20 degrees Celsius. The poor old crocuses don't know which way to head. Down or up, lads? Lydney Harbour, he says, was fascinating. I never knew it when I was there. Now James spent some time over here in the glorious UK, did a little bit of teaching on the side. Well then, James. Jim Nichols, New Zealand. I reckon that's an interesting and unusual port. It's well worth a visit. He's got friends who live in Bream, which is just up the road from there, it is indeed. They're in the same house he was born in 80 years ago. Sadly, I've never been able to visit him there. We met when he used to visit his family in New Zealand, and he's a keen kite flyer like me. I wish we could fly together again one more time. Salutary note there, Jim. You never know. Never say never. What they say, isn't it? Michael from Poland. Great film today, says. Lydney Harbour is run by the Environment Agency, and they keep it in superb condition for visitors to enjoy. The Environment Agency, is it? Oh, right. Okay, well they're just having their budget slashed, so look out. Yes, Jim, Michael says, once the mine started closing, the port began to decline, so it was mainly used by the Forsyth miners and various quarries for export, because when they went into decline, so did the harbour. Now then, important information, no news on the bikes. You have to make sure Max isn't within earshot here, Michael. Michael's been threatened by his good lady with buying a bicycle. Oh dear. Mike hasn't even mentioned the subject, he says, and I'm definitely not going to raise it. Don't blame you, Michael. Well done. David, Spain. We're all over the shop this week. He said he enjoyed the film of Lydney Harbour. I always like seeing turntables, yeah, dredgers and turntables are David's thing. Either one, doesn't matter. He says the signal lamp was also a great find. It would be easy to walk past it without stopping to look at the detail. Yeah, the thing about it is you've got to look up. Of course, most people look down. So yeah. One of my sisters, David says, lives on the bank of the River Thames. It's the same there. So many yachts moored up which rarely seem to be used. Yes. Now David says also he went out walking yesterday afternoon. He aimed to see the snow on the lower slopes of the mountains. It's in Spain, of course, but this had all disappeared. The high mountains, another story. I don't know if you're following David's films. He's doing a series of walks round and about the area where he lives. And if you want to see what walking is like in Spain, go and join David there. But I'll tell you, it's rugged. It certainly is rugged. But yeah, go to his website, his channel rather, and watch some of his films. Brilliant stuff. Now referring back to one of the problems that I had last week, looking at a finial. And Pete Payne says the top of a signal post is a finial. Yeah, I knew that, I just couldn't get the word out for some reason. You know what it's like. He said I got one on my conservatory. Its socket is round for a steel post. Wooden posts have square sockets. They're a bit harder to find. Yeah, there you go, you've learned a little bit about mountain finials today. We're going well. Marilyn, our elder sister, up there in Cheshire. How you doing, Marilyn? She was up early this morning after waking up at 5 AM. Christ. Hope you and the worldwide family are okay. Yeah, we're doing well. It's an awful long time since I was down at Lydney Harbour, she says, but I was really interested to see it again. Oh, good. And she hasn't been out on any adventures. If you follow this channel, you'll see Marilyn's here, there and everywhere. Amazing. For an elder sister. Anyway, no adventures this week, just appointments. But that's life as an older sister, isn't it? Just yes, I think there's one or two on here who will sympathise with you, Marilyn. She says, I have a trip to Cardiff booked this week with a friend on the Transport for Wales first class service, serving proper breakfast, lunches and dinners. So he's looking forward to, oh, you lucky thing, first class travel. Wow, brilliant. And the film, which was from last week, is Hartpury Church. And we've got a few, well, I don't know, no, not archaeologists are they, but a few people interested in the older stuff, shall I say. I'm just a bit expert on it. Obviously some reading been going on here. Lionel, from Lionel and Mary Travels is up first. It's a very interesting little spot. The church, the tithe barn, chapel and the farmhouse stroke manor. The barn was most interesting. That's the tithe barn, of course. Slit windows for ventilation, which would have been much needed when storing grain. Also known as a shearing barn. And Lionel goes on to describe a bit more about the tithe barn. It had a heritage, farming heritage, does Lionel. So he knows a thing or two. Trev, he likes old things as well. He said, I've had my brother staying with me for the past 11 days. He certainly brought the good weather with him. Yeah, we can keep him. Can we swap him for Simon? Simon the rain card. You keep your brother up here and they can have Simon for a bit. He says, I'm back in harness now, so everybody be warned. All right, yes, we're warned. I really enjoyed the look at Hartpury Church and its surroundings, he says. In a certain comparison with railway videos. Now, there you are, churches in railway videos. What's the connection then, before Trev tells you? And his connection to Trev is, in that it engineered as stone buildings and other structures is amazing. When you consider the limited amount of resources that were available all those years ago. So yeah, you look at railway architecture, shall we call it, and it's brilliant for its age, isn't it? Well, so are the churches, and they were there 1,000 years before this lot, so yeah, doing rather well. Malcolm Richardson, very interesting and enjoyable displays of medieval architecture and craftwork, isn't it just? And the giant beehive is quite remarkable. They certainly looked after their worker bees back in the day. Yeah, they did, didn't they? Huge, great thing. Yeah. Pete Payne. Pete says, what a great collection of interesting buildings. I do love an old barn, and especially the timbers. Work of art, isn't it, really? And how did they know how to build those structures? Must have been trial and error at one stage in their life, mustn't it? When they had to put their first roof on and have it stay up there. Yeah, brilliant. Pete goes on to tell us that the house where he was born in North Devon is a traditional longhouse where the cattle live downstairs. Hopefully a conversion, then Pete, you don't have to share it with the cattle still, do you? Amazing. What a history. Michael, Poland. He says the church was magnificent. The buildings outside were incredible. The barn and the bee shelter were superb. Nobody can argue with that, Michael. Very true. Last page. Jim, New Zealand. Interesting church, he says. And what a lovely collection of other items, with the amazing tithe barn, the high security chest, yeah, that wooden chest, and the bee shelter with the watermill, an unexpected bonus at the end. Yes, good. Got to see that. And engage on a shelf. Simon then. He says that old chest was amazing. Banded in iron. I bet not many have survived. Well, there's a challenge for you. Go to your local church and see if they have a chest up there. It was ordained by the Bishop of Exeter that every church had to have a lock-up chest where they could keep their vestments and their books safe. Yeah, so every church had one to start with. How many has still got them, I wonder? There you go. Now David jumps in on this. Yeah, interesting. Another thought provoker. I told you you'd learn things, didn't I? Well, learn how to start worrying about things. What an amazing collection of buildings, says David. A great visit, and to top it off, the watermill, which looks like it was inhabited. Yeah, it is. Yeah, part of it, obviously. Part of it's inhabited, part of it's falling down. Thinking back to that chest, if it was hewn out of a single tree, which it was, like how the Indians make their canoes, I think, you just hollow it out inside. So I think if it was hewn out of a single tree, David says, when was that tree planted? Because if it had that size, that girth, it must be very, very old when it was chopped down. Yeah, interesting, David. He says the tithe barn looked like it's still in use, yeah, for storing rubbish, I'm afraid. Yeah. James Weeks. I'm surprised you didn't comment on the poo for £1 a bag sign. Well, I will, he says. How big's a bag? Incorrigible. Oh dear. Moving swiftly on. What a wonderful church, he said. But I must say I've never seen anything like that bee shelter. You must have some very spoilt bees, yeah. It's hot, cold, warm, cool here these days. This is Toronto, of course. It's all over the place, their weather there. They must be right on the edge of something. They flip up and down, changing the weather per day. Yeah, well done. He said, I wish it could make up his mind. I bet you do, James. I've got half a beer worth of reports and comments to do, so I better get on. Yeah, oh dear. Still working on his school reports. Come on, James. Gotta move on, for goodness sake. Charles from the US of A. He says, that's difficult for us Americans. Well, the US government is approaching 250 years. We have colonial sites dating to the 1600s, but when you start discussing the 14th century and earlier, it's hard for some like me to wrap our brains around the extent of that history. Of course, we acknowledge the native Indians, yes, but as Charles says, they didn't leave very much really. Their accommodation tended to be rather temporary as they moved about following the buffalo and the likes. So, yes, not much history going back that far, but it's very difficult. And it always amazes me when we've been in America and they show you something they think is really historic, and it's only a couple hundred years old, and you think, well, that's quite new, isn't it, really, for us? Right, now, archive film about to pop up is a walk in the Cotswolds by the River Thames again. Another Thames walk, this time from Buscott to Kelmscott, which is about this time of the year really for considering walks, isn't it? So you'll come with me on that one, hopefully. You'll need your virtual walking boots on and maybe a virtual walking stick, depending on your mobility. Anyway, we'll all go wandering out there in a minute. And then next week we are railways. Yes! There's a series of 3 coming up in the next 3 weeks, 6 weeks, however that works out, probably nearer 6 weeks, on the Farsadine Heritage Railway. I've been down there and filmed various aspects of it and had a ride up and down. So we're going to have a look at that next Friday. See you down there. Don't be late. Okay, pin your ears back. This is another Cotswolds River walk, and we're walking the Thames. We're walking from Buscott, beautiful weir, beautiful surroundings, down to Kelmscott, down here. But we're actually starting in Kelmscott, so we have to go through the fields, cross the Thames, through the fields there up to Buscott, and then all the way down the side of the river. It's rather pretty. Looking forward to it. Right, take the road to the right of the pub. It should make a sharp left, but I don't think that means here. When the path ends in arable field, righto. The blackthorn is out. I've been told off for calling it the May. I don't think that's the Thames. Looks more like it. Right, London that way, I think. So that'll be the source then. And that has to be the lockkeeper's cottage, doesn't it? From years gone by. No longer a lock. That's where we go. And that's where the lock ends. We're headed this way. Right, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And we're told to turn right about here and aim for 2 small trees. Righto. The arrow's trying to get us to go that way, but there is kind of a path here through the meadow in roughly the right direction. I think we're going to have to give that a go. This is fun, isn't it? At least we don't have to go through that a lot. Well, not yet anyway. I wonder if this was the second tree then, because there is only one. But the directions say cross the stile at this point. Well, that's hopeful, even if it's a little bit Heath Robinson, shall we say. I'm looking for a bridge on the left. Well, there's a bridge. Thankful for small mercies, I suppose. The wind is blowing the grass in waves here, look. That should be the A417. It's well over 100 miles long, and I've got to find about 15 metres of it, so I hope this is the correct 15 metres. Looking promising. You do get a bit concerned on these walks when you're looking for two trees and there's only one, and what could be the second one looks like it fell down donkeys years ago, and you're looking for a stile and all there is a gate which doesn't look that new. I suppose it's all part of the fun. I think we're on track at the moment. Just before the track ends, look for a yellow arrow and a path on your left. There. The thing is, the track hasn't finished yet. Well, that looks quite definite. Okay, we'll give this a try. Right. Take a sharp left back to Buscott, will do them. I've got the old Parkinson's legs going now. It's a bit stumbly when you first take off, but it's about this stage, 2 miles in, everything frees up and away you go. Another gate and a bridge. Blimey. Right. Civilization, huh? Old sluice. Weir system here to control the height of the river. Upstream at least. Okay, River Thames this way. I guess you moor up here if you want to visit the loch, or maybe if you're waiting your turn on a busy day. From here on then we'll just enjoy the beauty of the grand old Father Thames. Fair few of these about. There's the blast wall. And a good view of the Thames in both directions. It's a very twisty river at this level. I've been over that once today. Not just the enemy, you can get the footpath walkers here as well. A few more shots of the Thames and that'll be it. We'll be heading inland to Kelmscott and the end of the walk. We'll count this as bonus material. We'll have a look at Kelmscott on the way back to the car. Retreat of William Morris, where he used to hide away apparently. It really is a beautiful little village, well worth a look. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, go on to my channel, Parkinson's Walks, click on videos, and there's another 50 there waiting for your pleasure. See you there.